Hello ladies, welcome to February. So most of you did the January-February bundle. So if you did do that, we are halfway through our 8 weeks. Well, maybe you wouldn't notice, but what I did with these 2 months is I actually made the schedules similar. So I actually I think I kept all of the same formats for the same days. So I didn't like put an AMRAP somewhere that there wasn't last month or something like that. I tried to keep all the formats the same. And then for our hit Tabata timers, I actually kept all of the same exercises and just shuffled them around and put them in different days in different orders, but they're all the same ones. So my thought process was the easier and more familiar I can make it, hopefully the more likely that you guys are to do it and stick with it, because you don't feel like, oh crap, like here's something new that I didn't see before, especially because January tends to be such a tough month for so many people. So hopefully that is helpful. I don't know, but hopefully it is. So if you were not with me in January, these are the demo videos where I show you everything you need to know, any possible substitution, modification, explanation, anything to do with the exercises themselves are in these videos. Okay, so we are on Monday and we're actually on January 30th, even though this is the February program. So we're on Monday the 30th, and I'm going to tell you what the workout is, then I'm going to do a quick demo of the exercises, and then I'm going to go into full detail of every exercise and explain the workout structure further if I think I need to. So usually this first video is the longest, and then depending, some of them are longer, but they typically tend to get shorter. And then you can skip through anything that you already know, or feel free to just drag and like stop when it's something that you don't know, but don't feel like you have to sit here and watch every single video if you don't need to. So we are on lower body for Monday. It is 4, 5, or 6 rounds. That means it's your choice. You're going to pick how many rounds you want to do. We're doing 12 quick pulse sumo squats, 12 reverse lunges with a front kick per leg, 12 elevated squats, and 12 donkey kicks per leg. And then we have part 2, which is scissor kick abs, which is for reps. And I know that those are 2 different parts because of the star and the underline. So the star and the underline under 4, 5, or 6, and the star and underline under scissor kicks. So you always do one full part before moving on to the second part, okay? So all these workouts are either gonna have 1 part or 2 parts, and you'll be able to tell. The number on the top is the number of rounds. The number in front of the exercise is the number of reps. So we're all doing the same amount of reps, but then once you run through that list, that equals 1 round. You are choosing how many rounds you do. So it's either going to be 4, 5, or 6. So we have our quick pulse sumo, which looks like this. 1, 2, 3. We have our reverse lunge with front kick per leg. Lunge, kick, lunge, kick, lunge, kick, and switch legs. Elevated squats means your heels are lifted off the ground. So I just stick them on my dumbbells and squat away. And then we have donkey kicks per leg. And switch legs. And then part 2, we have our scissor kick abs to our 4 reps. So you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? All right, so for part 1, we're all doing 12 quick pulse sumo squats. So it's up to you if you want to hold a weight or not. So I'll try to point out with exercises when you can add weight or you don't have to use the weight. I'll try to point it out to you. So your quick pulse sumo squat. So I'm going to show you without it first, and then I'll show you with it. So your sumo squat is a variation of a regular squat. So regular squat stance is something like this. Your sumo is going to be toes. I always say that. It's toes pointed, but I always say toes. Okay, anyways, toes pointed outward, and then your stance is going to be slightly wider or much wider than normal. That kind of really honestly depends on how long your legs are. So you just want to be comfortable, but you want that outward foot, okay? So it's going to be like that, and you're just going to squat down. But you're going to notice When you squat down, it's gonna pull on the inside of your thigh, and notice how I'm almost making a rectangle. When you do a regular squat, it's gonna look more like this, more like a square, okay? So you have that wider stance, you're gonna hit the inside of your thighs, you're gonna do a slight bounce, and then you're gonna stand. So that's your pulse. Down, bounce, stand. Down, bounce, stand, okay? So if you want to hold a weight, you can do it a few different ways. You can hold it in front of your chest by the top of the dumbbell, or you can drop it down and hold it by the top in between your legs. I tend to do sumos held downward, and I tend to do regular squats held up here, okay? I don't know why, I just find it's more comfortable, and you wanna make sure that you're keeping your back as upright as you can, okay? So just because you have the weight in front of you, you don't wanna hunch forward or lean too far forward, okay? You wanna always try to keep your shoulders up and your back as straight as you can, okay? Now, I'm gonna point this out now. Anytime we do a squat variation, you can use your chair, okay? So the point of the chair is two things, either to tap and go or to do a full sit. So tap and go means that you would, so with this one specifically, you would go up. So down, tap, up, down, tap, up. If you were to do a full sit, you would sit, you obviously can't bounce because you're sitting, and then you would stand. Do a full sit and stand. So the point of the tap and go is if you are new to squatting and you are unaware of how low you are going when you're squatting, this is gonna give you a guide. So when your butt hits it, you know you've hit the same spot or you've gone low enough and you can then stand up. If you are just doing it without a chair or a bench or something and you're just in space and you don't know, you're gonna be constantly questioning where you're going. So a lot of new squatters will kind of go like this, and then they're like, well, do I need to go more? Am I too low? And they're so confused because they just don't know, they're not used to it yet. So that's what the tap and go would be for. The full sit would be for if you have bad knees or something that you can't really bear the weight. So that way you're gonna do a full sit, okay? So any squat variations you see in this program, you can always go to your chair, okay? Even if I don't say you can. Now, if you have bad knees, something's up with your legs, and you have a hard time squatting, jumping, anything along those lines in general, you're gonna go to my resources section on the pin to the top of the page or featured, whatever it's called now, and there's a video called Bad Knee Subs, whatever, Can't Bend video, okay? So it's just me showing you a bunch of different exercises that you can do that either has no or very little bending, okay? Or instead of jumping, you can do this or whatever. So it's all modifications for those issues. So if you have those issues, you're gonna have a problem every single leg day and probably a lot of full body days and the Tabata days, okay? Because we do a lot of jumping, a lot of bending and squatting and lunges. So if you already know that's an issue for you, go to that section of my page, find that video and come up with a good group of exercises that you can do, that you can sub in for those times, because it's gonna come up all the time and you don't wanna feel stuck every single time like you don't know what to do. Be prepared, go in, watch those videos, come up with maybe 4 or 5 exercises that you feel comfortable doing and have them ready to sub in every leg day, full body, and hit Tabata, okay? So sorry, this is why this first video takes so long, because I have to explain all these things. But so yeah, if you need to watch that video, watch that video. Reverse lunge with front kick. So our lunges are always gonna go, well, not always, but our regular lunges are always gonna go forward and backward, okay? So if you're doing a forward lunge, that means you step forward. If you're doing a reverse lunge or backward lunge, that means you step back, okay? So when you take your steps forward or backward, you always wanna make sure that you don't take a tightrope step, which means I'm stepping in line with my stationary foot. I don't want to do that. I always want to be able to see both feet. So this is called a railroad. I want to see both of my toes, whichever way I'm stepping, okay? That's number 1. Number 2 is whether you're going front or back, when you sink down into your lunge, both knees need to bend and they both should be around a 90-degree angle, okay? Both. So you're not doing this with a straight or going way forward with that knee. Sink down right in the middle, both almost do a 90-90. Again, your back and your shoulders want to stay upright. You don't want to fold into your lunge, okay? So with this lunge, we're going to add a kick at the top. So we're here, we're gonna reverse lunge, and when we stand up, we're gonna kick. 1, reverse lunge, kick. 2, reverse lunge, kick. 3, okay? If the kick is too much for you, just do a regular lunge, or you can get up to like a wall, a railing, something behind of a couch, something along those lines, and just lightly hold on while you do it so you don't lose your balance, okay? And then you're gonna do the same thing with the other foot. Reverse, kick, reverse, kick, okay? So with your lunges, besides the railroad and besides your back, you always wanna make sure that your toes, knees, hips, shoulders are always facing forward. Whether you're going front or back, everything should be facing forward. So your toes shouldn't be pointed outward or inward, which in turn is gonna turn your knees outward or inward. You don't wanna do anything funny like that, okay? You always want everything to be facing forward. And with this one, you can also hold a weight. I would recommend one in each hand if you did it that way. So reverse, kick, reverse, kick, reverse, kick, okay? Elevated squats. So this one just means that your heels are off the ground. You could use books. You could use the weights like I'm going to. If you have plates for a barbell, you can use plates. Doesn't matter what it is. You just want your heels to be up off the ground. So you're going to step with just your heels on the weight or whatever your surface is, and then you're just going to hit a regular squat. Squat, stand, squat, stand. So what I will say about the squat is you want to make sure that you are focusing on keeping the weight in your heels, because obviously you're almost up on your toes right now. So you don't want to be going forward or feel like you're falling forward. You're still thinking about sinking backward and putting all of your weight into your butt as it goes down, not into your shoulders going forward. But I also notice that I have to think about keeping my knees separate when I'm up here, because it's very easy to go like this, I guess because your heels are elevated. I don't really know why. Like it's just like it almost feels more natural to do that. So I make sure that I really think about pressing my knees away from each other when I go down like this, okay? So don't let it come in. You wanna have them pointed out if anything, okay? So out like that, stand up. Out, stand up. Your shoulders are upright. You're thinking about sitting down, sitting into your butt, keeping your knees going outward, okay? Again, if you need to do something like a tap and go or a sitting squat, full sit, you're not gonna have your heels elevated. You're just gonna hit a regular squat, okay? And lastly, we have our donkey kicks. So you're gonna be on your hands and knees, and you're going to kick one leg at a time. So it's really not a kick, it's really more of a lift. So I keep my knee bent, and I keep my leg the same form. All I do is lift it toward the ceiling. I like to have a flat foot, return. Lift, down, lift, down. Okay, so for me, when I feel like I'm kicking through the ceiling, I hit that top spot. My glute is fully contracted, okay? So my butt is tight right here, okay? So that's why I like to keep my knee bent. If I do it where I kick out and I kind of point my toe, I'm not hitting that contraction at the top, which occurs here, not out here, okay? So a lot of us maybe have done these before, and maybe you're used to kicking out like that. Exactly what I just explained. When you're kicking outward and not upward, you're not hitting that contraction. That's almost like doing a bicep curl like this instead of like this. You have to be fully loose, and then you have to be fully engaged. So it's the same thing with your donkey kick. If you are kicking, unless you're standing, if you are kicking outward, it's not as effective as going upward. When you go up, you're gonna hit that full contraction, okay? So you're gonna do both sides, and then we're going to do that for whatever amount of rounds you choose. Once you're done, you're gonna move on to scissor kick abs. So these are for reps. So again, they're counted one by one. You're gonna pick any number. It could be, well, you want it to be an even number because you wanna do both legs equal amount of times. So it could be, or I should say divisible by 2. It could be 60, it could be 80, it could be whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. You just wanna make sure that both legs kick the same amount. I typically put my hands half under my butt. So I roll up, I put my hands here flat, and I'm kind of sitting on my thumbs and a little bit of my palms. Now, you're gonna open up your legs like this, so the bottom foot never touches the ground, the top foot is straight and up as high as you can get it, and you're gonna switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice I'm going pretty slow. I'm making sure my bottom leg is not slamming into the floor. And I also have my shoulders and my head off the ground. So what that does, my chair's right here, but what that does is it's gonna create more tension on your abs. So if I relax, the upper part of my abs also relaxes. If I take just do the simple lift, my head and my shoulders off, then it's gonna create tension on my upper abs while my lower abs are working because my legs are kicking. So that is more of a preference thing, but that's just how I've always done it. And if you do choose to do that, I say this about every ab exercise, try to keep your chin off of your chest. So instead of tucking your chin down, try to just look up and keep it off, because you don't want to strain your neck, you know, when you don't realize you are, when you're trying to do an ab exercise, because eventually it's gonna start to hurt and you're not gonna understand why, but it's from pulling it like that. Okay, so that is your Monday. And if you guys have any questions, you can always message me or reach out on the group, and I usually answer pretty quickly.